Will the recessed Housing and Land Use Committee meeting of August 5th, 2025 reconvene? It is August 20th, 2025 at 9:02 a.m. I am Tasha Kama, Chair of the Housing and Land Use Committee. This online meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Sunshine Law. Members, when your name is called, if you are not with me in the chamber, please identify by name who, if anyone, is in your workspace with you today. Minors do not need to be identified. I want to say good morning and aloha kakahiaka to Committee Vice Chair Nohe U'uhajens. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, everyone.
I want to say good morning also to Council Vice Chair Yukile Sugimura. Aloha.
Good morning, and I look forward to a productive meeting. So, thank you.
Council Chair Alice Lee is excused until later on this morning. I want to say good morning and aloha kakahiaka to Councilmember Tamara Paulton.
Aloha kakayaka, streaming live and direct from the historic burn zone in Lahaina. I have Christian Balagso here with me, and we have nobody waiting to testify. I don't know if something got handed out, but when I refreshed the Granicus, there's nothing there. So I don't know if it's going to get emailed to the rest of us or what.
Yes, it was the CD1 version that was handed out. So we'll make sure that you get one, Member Paulton, and anyone else who's online. So I want to say good morning and aloha kakahiaka to Councilmember Gabe Johnson. Thank you for the lily koi.
Oh, you're welcome, Chair. Yeah, I brought some lilikoi from the farm, so any council members offline can come. There'll be some lilikoi for you in the chambers. There's no testifiers at the Lanai District Office, and I'm here and ready to work. Mahalo.
Thank you. I want to say good morning and aloha kakahiaka to Councilmember Keani Rollins Fernandez. Good morning.
Aloha kakahiaka kako. My Molotenuia Hina. I'm at my private residence alone. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank
And
you.
we have no testimony. So,
Okay. Thank you.
yeah? Okay.
And we want to say good morning and aloha kakahiaka to Councilmember Tom Cook.
Aloha, Chair. Good morning. There's no testifiers in Kihei, and I'm looking forward to your meeting today.
Thank you. And we want to say good morning and aloha kakahiaka to Councilmember Shane Sinensi.
Aloha Kakayaka Chair and everyone. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have with us from the Department of the Corporation Council, Deputy Nahulu Nunokawa. Good morning and aloha kakahiaka.
Good morning and aloha kakayaka to Chair and members.
And we have soon to be with us online, Jordan Molina, the Director of Public Works, Samalo Mata'afa, who's here in the chambers in the galley, Sam Marvel, Chief of Planning and Development, Department of Parks and Recreation, and Kate Blystone, Planning Director. She will be available around 11 o'clock this morning. So these are our resources that will be here with us. I want to also say good morning to our project people from EAH. We have with us Karen Seddon, who's with EAH Housing, sitting in the galley. Quester Lau, who's seated right here. And we have Tom Chanel, who's seated to his right. Good morning, and aloha kakahiaka to you.
Good morning, Chair and council members. Tom Schnell with PBR Hawaii, Quester Lau with EAH is by my side, and appreciate you reconvening on this issue today. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. We also have representatives of the Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation. I think they're online this morning. Mr. Randy Chu, Development Branch Chief, Stan Fujimoto, the Project Manager, Albert Palmer, and Michelle Leong. And we also have, on behalf of the State Department of Accounting and General Services, Mr. C. Kim. And so I want to say good morning to our committee staff. James Kruger, our Senior Legislative Analyst. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and members.
And our Legislative Analyst, Ellen McKinley. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and members.
And our Committee Secretary, Jennifer Yamashita.
Good morning, Chair and members.
And our Legislative Attorney Carla Nakata,
Aloha, Chair and members.
and our Council Ambassador Ryan Martins in the galley. Good morning. So thank you, members, for attending today's recess HLU committee meeting. We're continuing our discussion of that single item on the agenda. Our testimony is now closed. So members, in the start of this meeting on August 5th, we closed oral testimony, and as always, the record is always open for written testimony. So members, you would have received a distributed CD1 version of Resolution 25-161, which approves the project with modifications. Member Paulton, did you get your CD1 version?
I received the email. Christian's just printing it out right now.
Okay. Member Rollins Fernandez, did you get your version? Thank you. Okay. So the CD1 version incorporates revision that we've discussed, as well as revisions resulting from discussions with the department leadership and the project developers. The committee requested we work from one document moving forward. Therefore, we are working off the CD1 version today. I'd also like to note that we sent out the committee questions from the last meeting to the developer, and the developer's responses are in Granicus. They are numbers 31 and 32. So it is my hope that we can finish our review of the proposed project this morning and make a recommendation to the council regarding the appropriate resolution. So the choices are, we approve it, we don't approve it, and we just let it go. So hopefully, after all the discussion we had and going through the CD1 version, that we'll be able to come up with the a decision. So, if there are no objections, I would like to entertain a motion in order to focus our attention on what we're talking about this morning. So members, I'd like to entertain a motion to recommend adoption of Resolution 25-161 to approve the project with modifications incorporating non-substantive revisions.
So moved.
It's been moved by Member Nohe Hodgins and seconded by Member Yukile Sugimura to approve the project, to approve Resolution 25-161. So now, members, I would like to entertain a motion to substitute Resolution 25-161 with the CD1 version that is attached to the ASF that you should have received this morning. It's been moved by Member Yukile Sugimura and seconded by Member Tom Cook to substitute Resolution 25-161 with the CD version. So thank you, members. So my ASF contains a summary of all the changes in the CD1 version. I propose to go through each part of the CD1 version of the resolution, hold discussion, and entertain amendments as you see necessary. So if you're okay, members, I'd like to go through the CD1 version as follows, starting with the resolution body, the modifications, the exemptions, and then entertain discussion and amendments if necessary. And the staff will set a 3-minute timer for each of you. So does that seem okay, members? Thank you. Thank you for your online. Okay, so why don't we begin with our Vice Chair, Member Nohe Hodgins. So let me look for my version of the CD1.
Chair, we're going to begin with this, and you want to go through each section? Is that what I heard you
If
say?
that's okay, yeah.
Okay.
So I know you probably hadn't had a chance to read it. Do you folks want a few minutes to to
If you
glance at
don't
it?
mind, I also wasn't here for the last time
Yes,
you folks had this
that's true.
discussion. So I don't mind waiting, or I don't mind going after the other members if they wanted to begin their questions.
Okay. So right now, the question is, members, do you feel like you want a few moments to read the entire document so you can become familiar with it? Even though we did discuss it, that was like 3 weeks ago. Do you remember even what you ate for breakfast 3 weeks ago? But anyway, so I'd like to, if it's okay, members,
Yes.
call for a 10-minute, yes, I heard a chair. Okay, thank you. How about a 10-minute recess? Read it. Oh, Member Paulton, did you call me out? Did you call for me?
I just raised my hand.
Oh, okay.
I don't mind a 10-minute recess, but I did have one question on the materials that were given by the, in that folder, in the weird setup with the, you know, is it okay to ask that question while everyone else reads the new document?
Well, you can ask the question. Well, you want to do it during recess? Is that what you're asking, Member Paulton?
Or at some time, I guess, whenever.
Okay. Do you feel like you want to ask your question now so that maybe members would be able to know what it is that you're referring to and maybe have some thoughts of their own?
Sure, okay. I'm on this stapled document that says for action. It was in the packet they gave us on page 7. It says for action, June 12th, 2025, page 7 of 11.
Do you know what Granicus item that is?
So I don't.
Chair,
Yes.
does staff know what
Do you know what-
Granicus item that is?
What Granicus item is that, James?
Yes, Chair. The for action is included in item number 1. I think it's like the second or third document that's part of the PDF that's in Granicus number 1.
Mahalo.
I'm on it says page 7 of 11, item T1A. And my question is regarding the comments from the Department of Water Supply that said, at this point, there is not sufficient remaining capacity on the Central Maui water system to serve this project. However, section 16-201-03G1 County of Maui admin rules exempts projects comprised of 100% residential workforce housing units as defined in section 2.96.020 Maui County Code, evidenced by an executed, recorded, and valid residential workforce housing agreement between the developer and the county. And then it also goes on to say, as requested by the mayor's office and DWS at a meeting with HHFDC on May 9th, 2025, HHFDC submitted a request to DWS for a reservation of water for the project and the Civic Center component. So my question is, the Civic Center component is not 100% residential workforce housing units, 100%. And where is the water coming from if there's not sufficient remaining capacity? I mean, it seems like an identical solution to Pulelehua, and yet this one can go forward. And West Maui, where we desperately need housing, is not being allowed to go forward. So I just was wondering if somebody could explain it to me, like I desperately need housing in West Maui.
Okay. Is that a Mr. Snell question or is that a question?
Might be DWS or Corp Council, because they're asking for it, just like Paul Chang's asking for it, but they're getting a yes and we're getting a no for West Maui. So just
Okay, let's clear that
checking
up.
it out.
Okay,
Yeah.
Mr. Nunakawa? Let's get the details.
I think that is a question for water.
Okay. So, Member Paulton, I'm going to try to get DWS on the line. And hopefully, when the members finish their 10-minute recess and reviewing their, the document, that we'll be able to get DWS on the line for you. Good question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so was there a question? Okay, so it's 9:17. We're going to take a 10-minute recess for everyone to review your document you just received, the CD1. With the recess HLU meeting now reconvened, it is 9:28, and we left off with the question from Member Paulton. So Mr. Landgraf is online, and he's ready to answer your question. We also have Mr. Yogi from Department of Transportation, who's also online, and Mr. Mataafa will be here with us till 10 o'clock. So if you have any questions for transportation, or actually for housing, you could ask them at this time, I guess. Okay, Mr. Landgraf?
Yes, yes, Chair.
Okay. Member Paulton, would you like to repeat your question? I'm not sure if he was online when you asked that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
My question is in regards to, on this document that they provided us for action, page 7 of 11, letter T, 1A, where it says at this point, there is not sufficient remaining capacity on the Central Maui water system to serve this project, but there's other rules. And then the mayor's office in DWS at a meeting with HHFDC on May 9th, 2025, HHFDC submitted a request to DWS for a reservation of water for the project and the Civic Center component. So the Civic Center is not 100% residential workforce housing, and the reason they're getting water when even there's not water availability is County of Maui admin rules exempts projects comprised of 100% residential workforce housing units as defined in section 2.96.020 Maui County Code, evidenced by an executed, recorded, and valid residential workforce housing agreement between the developer and the county. So my question is, if there isn't sufficient remaining capacity on the Central Maui water system to serve the project, where is the water coming from? And it doesn't seem like 100% residential workforce project if you're also reserving water for the Civic Center component, which is office building, not a real like Civic Center, like Lahaina Civic Center or something like that. So those were my questions. And I mean, if we can do it for this guy when there's no water, why we can't do it for Pulelehua? Because we have a desperate need for permanent housing in West Maui.
Okay, so for this project, we kind of redid the analysis. And I don't know about the office portion, but we know we have the water for the residential portion. So we kind of redid that. I don't answer the one about Pulelehua. That's a little bit different, but we kind of redid the analysis for the central system, and we think we can provide water for the residential portion. No, I'm not sure, because I thought they were going to break up the project into separate sections.
Okay, but how are you reserving water for the Civic Center? That's not 100% residential workforce housing.
Yes, I'm not sure on how that part of the component will work.
Okay, and I mean,
I can go back and look at it, and I'm not sure exactly how that works. I gotta check with our corp counsel on that, but yeah.
and then just to clarify what you're saying is you did the math and you didn't have enough water, and then you did the math again and now you have enough water. Is that like what you mean by you?
Sort of, we were able to find a way that we can use more water from one of our treatment plants. So we took a little while to get through the analysis.
Okay, it just seems like different people play by different rules sometimes, because it's not 100% residential workforce housing project. If we're talking about the Civic Center and the Civic Centers in all these diagrams, I mean, I would imagine Pulelehua can subdivide just their affordable housing portion and get the same kind of deal, you know?
Well, I can't answer that right now. So.
I figured.
Are you done, Member Paulton?
I guess so. I mean, it's unfortunate people think that, you know, we don't have a great need in West Maui when the whole town burnt down, but we can find water for other projects all the time. We can make amendments for other projects and just leave people out hanging on the west side.
Okay, so let's return back to, thank you, Mr. Landgraf. So members, do you have any questions for Mr. Mataafa, since he has limited time with us? If not, we can allow him to leave. Yes, Member Paulton?
Mr. Mataafa, has a valid residential workforce housing agreement been executed between the developer and the county?
Thank you, Chair Kama, and thank you, Councilmember Paulton, for the question. The answer is no.
Okay, and so isn't that a requirement to provide the water? As it says on 7 of 11, it says, Section 16-201-03 paren G paren 1 County of Maui admin rules exempts projects comprised of 100% residential workforce housing units as defined in Section 2.96.020 Maui County Code, evidenced by an executed, recorded, and valid residential workforce housing agreement between the developer and the county. So are we putting the cart before the horse here, or what is the process?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for that question, Councilmember Paulton. The residential workforce housing agreement is one of the early steps that happens before a developer can move forward with getting permits. So in that residential workforce housing agreement, one is required to be executed either before building permits are issued or subdivision plans are approved. So at whatever step the developer is on, they'll have to have a residential workforce housing agreement. And if they're subdividing and pulling building permits, they'll need 2 residential workforce housing agreements. Now, the residential workforce housing agreements sets the tone on how the developer will comply with the residential workforce housing policy. And in there, will also be stated is whether the project is 100% affordable or not. And so once that document is drafted, reviewed, executed, and recorded, the Department of Water Supply can use that document to exempt them from certain provisions of their code. So the residential workforce housing agreement, in short, is used by other departments to determine whether they can get specific exemptions or not.
Okay, and I guess my question is, when you execute the residential workforce housing agreement, is there any part in it that's going to include the civic center? Because it seems like the civic center is piggybacking on this 100% workforce housing to get its water through, you know, when it's not necessarily like, you know, there's all this, it's together, it's not together. We need space for the civic center. We don't need space for the civic center. So is the civic center going to be part of the residential workforce housing agreement?
Thank you for that question, Councilmember Paulton. We have a residential workforce housing agreement draft from the developer in our review process right now. What the department envisions is having 2 separate residential workforce housing agreements, one specifically for the housing development and then another specifically for the civic center. And so when it comes to processing building permits, the developer would have, of the housing project, would have a residential workforce housing agreement, and then separately the civic center would have a separate residential workforce housing agreement.
I don't understand how the civic center has a residential workforce housing agreement if nobody's going to be living in the civic center.
Thank you for that question, Councilmember Paulton. So the trigger for having a residential workforce housing agreement is a generation of 10 or more lots or units. So if the civic center has builds more than 10 units within that complex, they're required to have a residential workforce housing agreement.
And what is your definition of units? Like a place somebody could live?
The definition of units in the residential workforce housing policy is really broad, and it could be market rate units, it could be commercial lots, commercial units, it could be lots, any type of lots, and then there are some exceptions on what can be exempted. But for this one, if it's generating, for the Civic Center, if it's generating more than 10 units, we would require a residential workforce housing agreement.
I guess I'm still confused because there is no residential workforce housing being created by the Civic Center. So how is it getting a residential workforce housing agreement? Like it's not intended to be housing, workforce housing or any housing, market housing. It's intended to be office space from what they said.
Thank you, Councilmember Paulton, for that question too. We don't currently have that draft residential workforce housing agreement before us. What happens is if building permits are required for that project, we get flagged as a reviewing agency to review and determine whether they need to comply with the residential workforce housing policy, and then subsequently issue a residential workforce housing agreement with whoever the developer is of that civic center. So for us, the threshold would be determining whether there's 10 or more units, and then looking at the definitions in residential workforce housing policy, determine whether those units are needed to, whether those units are part of the definition of the residential workforce housing policy. But we don't have that in front of us right now because for that project specifically, they haven't got to the point where they're triggering building permits or even a subdivision. So when they get to that point, the department will get flagged by Public Works as a reviewing agency, and we'll take a look at it at that point.
And so if it, at that point, is not comprised of 100% residential workforce housing units as defined in section 2.96.020 Maui County Code, then they don't qualify for water.
Thank you for that question again, Councilmember Paulton. So the residential workforce housing policy is not specific just to residential workforce housing units. It's in respect to any type of unit, any type of development that has 10 or more units. So it could be a hotel, it could be a commercial subdivision, it could be any type of development that has 10 or more lots. They're required to come in with the department and execute a residential workforce housing agreement.
Yeah, I think I understand that, but section 16-201-03 paren G paren 1 County of Maui admin rules only exempts projects comprised of 100% residential workforce housing units from the water requirement. And it sounds like however many units there are, it's not going to be 100% residential workforce housing.
You're correct in that, Councilmember Paulton.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Cook.
Thank you for the explanation. So it sounds like the residential that we're reviewing today may qualify for the housing program, but when they come in for the second one, it may or may not qualify for the workforce housing agreement because you haven't been able to review it yet. Is there a possibility this particular project that the residential unit that we're reviewing today would qualify and have a workforce housing agreement with the county, but the next phase of this project may not qualify and may not get a workforce housing agreement with the county?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councilmember Cook, for the question. This housing development that's before us will need to do a residential workforce housing agreement. The second piece, depending on our review, is likely going to require a residential workforce housing agreement with the county as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Were you going to say something, Mr. Nunakawa?
Yeah, correct me if I say anything that is off, but the residential workforce agreement is more to offset the need made by these projects. So for projects that are larger than a certain amount, these residential workforce agreements are there to ensure that the need for workforce housing created by the projects is fulfilled. So the residential workforce housing policy isn't necessarily the thing that, gives you the exemption. The exemptions are granted for certain projects because they have a benefit outside of the detriment of needing residential workforce. So either one is going to have a policy. Whether one qualifies for the exemption or not is dependent on what that project's makeup is.
Mr. Cook and then Mr. Sinensi.
So I guess that my clarifying question is this one lump sum project? Or is it basically, this is a first phase and that second phase could potentially be addressed separately?
Thank you, Chair. The department looks at it in two phases, and both phases will likely, the first phase will definitely need a residential workforce housing agreement, and depending on the review of the second phase, which is the Civic Center complex, that will likely also need a residential workforce housing agreement as well.
Yeah. Thank you for the clarification.
Mr. Sinensi.
Thank you, Deputy Mataafa. So with the first phase, which has the 100% affordable housing, they can get the exemption for the water. However, on the second phase of the Civic Center, if they come and they don't produce the 100% affordable housing, that they won't get that exemption for water. But they don't qualify for that, or they, like you said, they don't show the minimum 10 units that would qualify them for the 100% affordable?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councilmember Sinensi, for that question. The residential workforce housing agreement is used by the Department of Water Supply to validate whether that project can move forward with an exemption or not under Chapter 16, I believe. So
it sounds like the first phase will qualify, but the Civic Center second phase could potentially not qualify should they not. I guess my question for the developer is, do you want this? Because we don't have the Civic Center in front of us today for approval. Do you want this attached to this part, to your housing? They're shaking their heads. You would rather not have this, it's separate according to the developers.
Yeah, if I can clarify, the subject of this 2-1H application is only the residential housing component. The Civic Center is not part of the 2-1H and is not seeking 2-1H exemptions.
So would you guys be okay if we deleted that section in here that said reservation for water for the Civic Center component? And so it doesn't have...
Where are you at, Mr. Sinensi?
Well, just to Member Polton's point about including the Civic Center component, as far as, but that was just the HHFDC's response. They are requesting the reservation for the Civic Center component as well.
That wasn't a condition, but I guess the question is, if you're going to have a Civic Center component and there's more than 10 units and you require a residential workforce housing agreement, isn't there some affordable housing required as part of a residential workforce housing agreement? And are we including any of this 100% as that project's component of workforce housing, or they're going to come up with their own workforce housing somewhere else off-site for building the Civic Center? I guess is the underlying, because if they're going to trigger a residential workforce housing agreement because they have 10 or more units, then they're required to provide affordable housing. And where is that affordable housing going to be unless they designate some of this 100% affordable housing as the affordable housing for the civic center component, but then it's not 100% residential workforce because it's two components and it's not 100%. So I guess ultimately, if we're seeing from what Mr. Mataafa said, that's the follow-up question, I guess, is when they build the civic center component, because it's 10 or more units, it's going to require a residential workforce housing agreement, so which would require more affordable housing. Are we not counting any of the 100% affordable housing in phase one as the affordable housing that counts to phase two, or are they completely separate projects? And phase two is gonna...
They're two separate.
So they're gonna have to come up, Civic Center is gonna have to come up with their own workforce housing where it's someplace else offsite.
And I do see Ms. Choi Johnson with her hand up, if she's a resource chair.
Well, right now, I want to just acknowledge that Chair Lee's on the line. Chair Lee, good morning. Aloha kakahiaka to you.
Aloha kako. Nice to join you. Sorry I'm late. I'm in my workspace, home alone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so where were we? Okay, so we're talking about the Lahaina Phase 2. Is that what it is, Mr. Mataafa? That's what it is, Phase 2. That is separate from this particular project. And let me just make sure that we're on the same page, members, that we're here to discuss the modifications for this project. And that other project will come to us, I'm sure. But when it comes to us, I'd like us to deal with it when it comes and not take up time today, because this is the day that we're either going to say yes or no, or just let the days go by and then let it go.
Chair,
Mr. Sinensi?
is Ms. Choi Johnson a resource?
No, she is not.
Oh,
And
okay.
she is from DAGS. And they are the ones responsible for the Kahului Civic Complex.
Okay,
which
and we're
is
not,
a totally different
and we're not
subject matter
discussing
from
that.
this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I wanted to get back to what we're doing in the beginning. So we're looking at the resolution, and we should have looked at the body of the resolution. And basically, it's the same resolution as it was before, excepting what you have on the fourth page is your Exhibit A, and those are the modifications. And those are the things that we have to either say yay or nay to. You support it, you don't support it. So, Exhibit A, the project is modified to recognize it as a 100% affordable rental housing project with 2 on-site, non-revenue generating resident manager units that are part of the project's common area elements. So is that something, remember U Hodgins, you had a question. And then we just went right past you after Mrs. Sinensi.
No, that's okay. Thank you, Chair. I was just going to clarify that the 201H did not include the Civic Center. But that was it. And then it was clarified right after I raised my hand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Member Rollins Fernandez, did you have your hand up?
I did. Hello, Chair. I was just kind of tracking the logic in how we landed in asking about the units of the Civic Center. So, Chair Lee, Member Polton asked about the insufficient water, that there isn't water for that project, and why would there be water for this project and not Pulelehua? And then we asked Deputy Director Landgraf, and he gave his response. And in looking at both the project that we're taking up today, the 201H project, and then the Civic Center, which anticipates building 10 units, which would trigger at least 2.96, but we're not taking that up today, but would require affordable units and would then maybe require water. That's kind of uncertain at this point. It's also uncertain the number if the Civic Center units, while it requires, if it's going to even build 10, would require 2.5 units to be workforce. Would any of those workforce units be in this 201H project be counted toward that 2.5 units required by the Civic Center project? Is basically my understanding of the discussion up until this point. And we do have a main motion and a motion to amend substituting the CD1 version. And then we're supposed to go through each section, but I think that the question about water is an appropriate question. So that's where I am. And I know that we're not talking about the Civic Center, but the two pertinent questions for the project that we are taking up is whether any of the units will be used toward the Civic Center requirement of having affordable units, which I don't think we got an answer to, or maybe the answer was no. But if that answer could be repeated, that would be great. And then the question about water.
Who should answer that? My assumption would be no, because they're two separate projects, but I'm not the developer. Mr. Chanel.
Thank you, Chair. I'll let Quester Lau from EAH handle that question.
I think the question is, does the, this is a separate project from the Civic Center. I think that answers your question, completely separate.
Can you just say that none of those units would be counted toward the Civic Center project?
That's my understanding.
Okay, just, yeah, if you can just answer that.
Yes.
Instead of saying it's separate. I understand it's separate, but it doesn't really answer my question, I
Okay,
guess.
so just to make sure that we're answering your question, Member Rollins Fernandez, that none of the units in this project will be used as a, will be used towards the units
the requirement.
as a requirement against the Civic Center project. Mr. Matafa, did you have something to say?
Not to complicate the discussion further, but in the context of the Civic Center project, there's a number of different ways that the developer of that project can satisfy the requirements of Chapter 2.96. They can either build out the units that are required, they can provide land in lieu of building out those units that are required, the residential workforce housing units that are required, or they could provide funding to satisfy that requirement. Additionally, in order to satisfy that requirement, if they don't want to build the units, they can also purchase credits from someone who has credits and satisfy that requirement as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thanks.
Also for Charlie, we received the email document that we're working off of. You should have got it in your email.
The CD1 version.
Did you get that, Charlie?
Okay. I didn't have a chance to look at it, but I am curious about the water situation, and I'd like to ask the applicant again, I'm sorry if it's a repetitious question, but where are you getting your water from and how much?
Thank you. Thank you, Charlie. Or thank you, Councilmember Lee. At this point, the Department of Water Supply said that they do have capacity to supply water to the affordable housing project that's subject to the 21H.
Okay. And how much water are we talking about? How many gallons per day?
One moment.
Chair, I believe staff saw two different figures, 171,000 gallons per day and 169,000 gallons per day.
Did you get that, Chair?
Yeah, I did. And so does that cover all the units plus other, let's say, other buildings or facilities on the project that are not residential? Like, a laundromat or, things like that. It's for other, just strictly the units or other things?
So the project includes the common areas, so that it includes the laundry facilities. So that directly related and used for the residents is included. So we have a multi-purpose room that's included. We have a pet park that's included.
Okay, one last question, if I may, Chair Kama, is when did you get the approval or okay from the water department on the 169 or 171,000 gallons a day? When did you get that?
Councilmember, the director from the water department was here this morning and addressed that question. He didn't exactly say we have an approval, but he said they have water capacity available for the residential portion of the project.
Well, don't you need to have, approval? Oh, okay, is that part of something that was sent today?
The response is they don't have water.
Oh.
The last written response was that they didn't have water, but he said they did new math. And I guess this morning now they have water.
Okay, this is very concerning, Chair Kama. Water is a very critical issue for all of us, and there's so much competition for it, and we get different answers depending on what day it is from the water department. But I'll yield my time. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, I see Mr. Landgraf.
I can answer Chair Lee and Chair Kama.
Go ahead, Chair.
Is that okay if I answer?
Yes, by all means.
Okay, so yeah, it is a kind of hard issue because we're trying to see, if we can serve the project. So at times we have done an analysis of our water system again, and we think we can pull that additional amount of water out from our EL water treatment facility to help to serve the project. There's also an existing meter on the property, which we can use the capacity of that meter right now without having to add that much more to the project. So that there is an existing meter that's already on that property that we can use that capacity plus add a little bit more to serve what is needed by the project.
Who was using that meter before?
It was that building. What is it? I don't know what that building is. That school or that was that
Adult education.
Yeah, right.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson?
Chair, I want to respect Deputy Director Mataafa's time. I know he's limited, so I'll
Thank
just
you.
jump right to my question on him. And I don't mean to change the topic on the water, but I'm trying to respect his time. So, one of the exemptions they have is to exempt themselves from undergrounding power lines. I don't support that. I would like to see if we as a county could help pay for that. And can they use, I'm sure they can, but I'd like to hear it from the department. Is it an allowable use for the Affordable Housing Fund to use that money to bury the power lines? And then can you explain how they would do it? Is there a timeline? Can they use it out of this tranche of money or next year's tranche of money?
Thank you, Chair Kama, and thank you, Councilmember Johnson, for that question. To answer your first question, yes, it is an allowable use under the Affordable Housing Fund. And then to answer your second question regarding the type of the method or the process they would need to go through to have those infrastructure improvements paid for, they could either use their existing funds that they have, the 10 million that was approved in FY 2026, or they could competitively apply in FY 2027 when the department opens up its application process.
Thank you for that, reminding us again how that works. And I'd like to hear from the builder. Is that something you guys would consider to use from the first tranche of money that you receive from the Affordable Housing Fund, or would you like to wait for next round? I just want to hear your opinions on it, because I would support that.
So currently, our budget anticipated that we would be exempt, so we did not include those fees in our current budget. And the challenge with applying for the 2027 funds is it is competitive, so there's no guarantee that we would be awarded those funds.
Okay, but that being said, if you did get the money, you have the capacity to put them in, to bury them.
I mean, I'm not sure how to answer that because it's theoretical, right? It's not something we have today, which I think is what you're really getting at. So it's not currently in the budget.
Are you, and the first
The project
round,
budget.
the first round of the monies from the Affordable Housing Fund is all spoken for?
Correct. We did not anticipate that we would be paying fees with the budget, so it was in vertical construction.
Okay. I just think maybe we could write it in the exemptions, and maybe this is for the body to consider, just that we, the county, cover the costs, and that way it just is stated there. So that's where I'm heading with this line of questioning. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Anyone else for questions for Mr. Mataafa? Seeing none, thank you so very much for being with us this morning. We appreciate your time and all the times that you spent here with us. And with the more time you're going to be spending with us going forward. But thank you in advance.
Thank you, Chair Kama, and just, I won't be in the chamber, but I will be monitoring online, so if anything else comes up, I'm more than happy to jump on and answer any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Director.
Thank you for that. Okay, so members, shall we get to the modifications in your CD1 version? Or did you want to talk about the body of the resolution? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question for the modification for B.
Okay.
Which is the beginning of the start phase.
Yeah.
So I see that it says construction must start both phases by December 31st, 2027. But in the documents that were provided, it doesn't look like planning has got to their SMA yet. And this is I'm assuming an SMA major, obviously. So I wanted to follow up on our review, which I know Director Blystone will not be here for another hour. But I wanted to follow up on planning's review of their SMA to ensure this start date is met. So either we can, they can address it now and I can re-ask that question when Ms. Blystone is back with us. Or
We can ask the question
I can say it
now.
out loud
Get it
now.
prepared.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we can get to it when we get to it.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good one. So are you concerned that maybe the timeline might be too limited?
Well, I'm concerned that we're not doing what we need to do to ensure that SMA is reviewed on time. So they provided us a list for the 201H application distribution list. And the middle section is us. And it shows that they submitted documentation. I want to say I read December of 2024. And they followed up in March of 25. They sent follow-up of May 1st, and they have not received comments and no response has been sent. I see that environmental management, housing, human concerns, public works, transportation, water, and police have all responded. But fire doesn't comment, I will say, until water has finished their comments. That is how that works.
Yep.
But I'm more concerned about the status of the SMA application to ensure the timeliness of this construction so we can ensure that the cost they provided us is going to be met because construction is just not getting cheaper.
Okay. Okay, any other questions on the second modification that members might have. Member Johnson?
Thank you, Chair. So this is going to be about the trees and the landscape plan, which I brought up last time, and I'm here for it
The
again.
exemptions, these are just a modification.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Exemptions on the next page.
I'll wait for exemptions then.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. But is everybody okay with the modifications? And then we're going to wait for Kate to come and talk to us about the SMA that hopefully will be timely. Okay. Member Paulton?
I guess, wondering if any of the sides have a problem with extending it to 2028. I mean, how many times they come back to us? They don't have to use it, but I'm okay with giving them another year or two.
Project proponents?
In addition to the things that Nohe said, I mean, I think we should follow up on those as well, but
Yeah.
I don't have an objection to extending the time if people want to, so that we don't have to revisit. I mean, things happen, fire, tsunami drills, whatever, COVID.
Yes, that would be greatly appreciated.
So what would you like to?
I'm okay with it.
So what would you like to see here, Quester? December 31st, 28, or 20, what do you want to see there?
And then complete construction of both phases by December 31st, 2030.
Okay. So if you're going to do complete construction by 2030, then both phases must start by, what are you looking at, 28? Is that what you're looking at? Okay.
Chair, would you like me to make that amendment now? Or would you like to hold all the amendments and make one?
I think we're
swoop
gonna
at
hold the
end?
amendments.
Okay.
Because these guys are good to go, right? These two.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Yes. James says we could do it now. Let's do it now. I'm all
Okay.
for doing stuff now in the end. Okay.
Okay, well then I move to amend Exhibit A modifications, letter B. The project must start construction of both phases by December 31, 2028, and complete construction by both phases by December 31st, 2030.
Second.
Second.
Okay, I heard member Hodgins is a maker and everybody else is a seconder. Choose one.
For discussion, that just gives them more time to complete all of the required permits and gives us time to do our due diligence
Yeah.
to complete those permitting requirements.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Yes, member Cook.
I propose that the council also address the planning review and encourage them to respond, because they're the last holdout.
That's what we're gonna ask Kate when she
And even
comes.
though we are granted the extension, I don't want to really give the planning department more time. I'd want them to finish the work. Thank you.
I have a question I want to ask. I don't know if I'm going to ask Carla. Carla, you know, because we have so many of these things, these proponents that come before us, and it kind of gets stuck at planning. Is it possible to put a deadline on planning, like everybody else has deadlines?
I'm not sure, Chair, what the recourse would be if the Maui Planning Commission was unable to come to a decision by the deadline that the council imposes. You know, we don't really have control over their scheduling. I guess I think that might make it difficult, and if you do impose a deadline like that, then would you be requiring the developer to come back if that deadline is not met?
Oh, no, I was just throwing that out. Member Paulton?
Oh, for my discussion, I just was gonna say, I hope they stick to their timeline, but in case it runs over, I'd rather just give them an extra year than have them waste time and come back to us. That's my discussion.
Absolutely, thank you. Anything else? Okay, nothing else? Okay, so our modifications in A and B are good to go? You want to vote now, people? Okay. So I guess I need a motion. Yes,
Apologies, Chair. So the committee just needs to vote on this amendment to amend modification.
oh, that's right, vote on the amendment, sorry. Just wanted to get this out. Okay, all those in favor of the amendment of Exhibit A, Item B, to extend the time from December 31st, start time 2028, to completion of the construction to December 31st, 2030, raise your hands and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I saw 9 ayes and 0 noes. Is that correct? Okay, so this motion passes. Thank you, members. So we're going to do the modifications now or later? James?
Chair, if that was the only topic that the committee wanted to discuss relating to the modifications, then the body could move on to discussing the exemptions.
Okay, let's go to the exemptions. Okay. This is 100% affordable rental housing project with 2 on-site, non-revenue generating resident manager units that are part of the project's common area elements. So, exemption number 1, an exemption from Code Chapter 3.48 real property tax is granted to exempt the project from real property taxes during the project construction period and for the duration of the operation as an affordable housing project under Section 3.48.496, very low income, below moderate, and moderate to income housing exemption. Members, what is your thoughts on that? Member Seymour.
Thank you. I remember this came up at the last meeting, and I just want to hear from the developer that this is okay. It is. Okay, could you?
Yes.
Okay, great, because I thought it would be impacting your financial stack, but you're fine with
Right.
it. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Approve.
Member Cook.
Thank you, Chair. I'm supportive of this. I'm just would ask if the committee staff could ask real property what this would be over the duration of the project, just for our information. I'm supportive of it. It's an important way for them to be able to provide the housing for this income group. Thank you.
So I want to ask finance what the cost would be,
Correct.
what the loss of revenue would be then.
Yeah, and just for our information, not to delay or impact the voting at all.
Right. Yeah, okay. Anything else? Anyone else? Member Paulton?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask, I don't know if it's Nahulu or Marcy, is this standard? Like, I think that when Marcy was before us last time, she said that usually we do it for the affordable housing project, but not during construction. So I just wanted to ask, is this a new thing that we're doing during construction? Can it be replicated? And waiving property tax during affordable housing period, it seems like that's not something that we always do. Is it only when it's the state, or could we replicate this? I mean, because, you know, all the costs going up for other things. Is this something that we could do standard on stuff, or is this the first time we've ever done it? That's my question.
So finance.
Carla or Mr. Nakawa?
I think Marcy would be best to answer this.
I don't intend for it to hold us up, just to help us on further affordable housing projects going forward. I'd love the information at some time.
So we can ask that question, Member Paulton, similar to what Member Cook wanted to ask finance regarding the construction period.
I'm supportive.
Okay.
I'm supportive of the A1.
Okay.
And I want to know if it can be replicated.
Okay. Any other members? No, we're going to take it all at the end. Okay. So we go on to B, 1, Chapter 8.04 Maui County Code, refuse collection and landfills. An exemption from Code Section 8.0.040 disposal permits applications and suspension is granted to exempt the project from disposal permit fees and special handling fees. An exemption from Code Section 8.04.050 disposal charges is granted to exempt the project from special handling fees and disposal charges during construction. Any thoughts, members, on this? Member Paulton?
I have a question on B1, where B2 says during construction and B1 doesn't say during construction. And I'm not sure what special handling fees is. Is it that they get free rubbish service with this? I mean, I'm not opposed, also just for my education, because this B2 says during construction and B1 doesn't have during construction.
What are special handling fees?
Maybe Mr. Agawa or somebody.
Somebody from DEM.
Chair?
Yeah.
Apologies, we don't have anyone online from DEM at this time, but we can reach out and see if someone can join us.
Okay.
Does the developers know that if this is meaning that they'll get free rubbish service for the length of the affordability? Or,
The
I mean,
intent,
they gotta know what they're asking.
yeah, the intent was during construction.
For both B1 and B2?
Yes.
Oh, so then should we add during construction to B1?
We would like it to remain as is.
Oh. I guess I'm confused as to what then we're talking about as, what is the difference between B1 and B2?
I don't have a good explanation. We might want to request further clarification on that.
Okay, I guess, I mean, the way that I'm reading it is the fees associated with the permits and the charges associated with the disposal. But that would just be speculation. But you said it's only supposed to be during construction, so you guys are gonna pay regular rubbish service or something like that? That's worked into your budget, Mr. Lau?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. So no free rubbish, got it.
So Member Paulton, did you want us to send a letter to DEM to ask them what are special handling fees?
No,
Okay.
I mean, my main question was if it was gonna be free rubbish for the length of the project, and he said it's only like during construction.
Yeah.
And one sounds like it's permits and one sounds like it's charges. I can
Yeah.
ask Shane next time I see him at a community meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going now to C, exemption C, Title 12, Maui County Code, Streets, Sidewalks, and Public Places. And this is one, an exemption from Code Chapter 12.08, driveways is granted to exempt the project from driveway permit and inspection fees. Two, an exemption from Code Section 12.8.100, standards and specifications. Standard details for public works construction, standard detail R-49 driveway layouts for concrete curb streets is granted to allow the separation between driveways to be less than the minimum distance of 45 feet if a traffic evaluation of all the proposed driveways that do not meet the minimum distance of 45 feet is prepared by the applicant and the Director of Public Works, approves the driveway spacing proposed for the project as adequate to protect public health and safety, which approval will not be unreasonably withheld. 3, an exemption from Code Chapter 12.24A, landscape planting and beautification, is granted to exempt the project from consistency with the adopted landscape planting plan relating to street trees. If trees are planted on site along the Connie Street and Kaumanu Avenue roadway frontages of the project, as generally depicted on the residential phase landscape slide, sheet L1.1 of the application's Exhibit 23, subject to reasonable substitutions in species. Okay, so that's our Title 12 exemption C. Yes, Mr. Sinensi.
Thank you, Chair. And I forget if Director Molina was okay with this? Was that the?
With what, what number are you at, Mr.?
With the condition to exempt the fire access driveway?
What number is that?
Chair,
Yes,
Oh,
your
there he
chair.
is.
Public Works.
Oh,
Yeah, so
Hey,
thank
Mr.
you.
Molina.
Good morning. Jordan Molina, Director of Public Works. Yeah, we reviewed this language with staff and the applicant, and we're supportive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Molina.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Sinensi. Anyone else have questions regarding any one of the exemptions in C? Mr. Johnson?
So
Oh,
we're,
I'm sorry, remember Paulton, I'm sorry, I didn't even see your hand.
It's okay. I can wait for Member Johnson. I'm not in a rush. I'll be here all day, folks. At least
Yeah.
till 2:30.
all of us as well.
All of us as well.
So I guess if now is appropriate
Yes,
time, I can speak on the landscape plan and everything. So I think, my team contacted the Arborist Committee, Dwayne Sparkman, Elaine Molina from Maui Green and Beautiful. And all the feedback said that the landscape plan could be improved and tree removal should be carefully done and relocation should be certainly considered. The Arborist Committee wants to work with the builder. There are grants out there such as the Urban Forestry Citizen, there's grants to help you move this along. So I was gonna see if the body would be willing to allow some language into this exemption. So if we look at the sentence, it says, exempt the project from street trees if trees are planted on site as generally depicted in the residential phase landscape plan on sheet L1.1 of the project applications Exhibit 23, subject to reasonable substitutions in species. So I was gonna say, where it says substitutions at the end of the sentence, it says, if those species provide increased shade canopy or have been recommended by the Maui County Arborist Committee. That would be my amendment to that basically, please work with the Maui County Arborist Committee on finding the appropriate trees, and I'd like to maybe hear the builder's opinion on that.
Thank you for the comments. Our landscape architect has reached out to the arborist to engage them directly, the two that were referred by your office. So they have reached out to Dwayne and Elaine, both. However, they weren't able to meet with them prior to this meeting. The initial feedback was, from our landscape architect. He welcomed the additional input, and he thought that discussing, the specific conditions of this project would help shed light on maybe some of their input. So we're open to the feedback and input, but there are constraints that the project has to deal with, in terms of long-term maintenance and things like that. So our strong preference is to move this forward, is to leave the language as it is.
Okay, there are monies there to help you reach your budget, but, if you're willing to work with the arborist, like you said, you were on the floor, and we'll put it into the language that, and I'll say it again, just for the record, that if those species provided increased shade canopy or have been recommended by the Maui County Arborist Committee. I mean, that's kind of soft. It's not saying you must, you have to, it's just saying work with those guys. And then that you guys can reach the funding through those grants. We want to, remember that area in particular, Kahului, on that corner, it's very hot. And it's all concrete, so it makes it even hotter, right? And we know if we don't have shade trees, and you're telling everybody you should walk to work, and we're not giving you the parking spots, those shade trees will help people walk. And that's really where I'm going with this, you know. We want to encourage it. It's a walkable community. There's a college just down the street. All these things, in my mind, think that we could have a bit more of a robust landscape plan.
So I have a question. So is your arborist team still willing to meet with the people? And the intent is to maybe come out with some reasonable requests that would put more shade onto the streets?
Yes, we are very willing to work with the arborists, but our strong preference is to not modify the language.
Not codify the language?
To not modify the language.
Not modify the language. Okay. Remember, Paulton, Senensi, and Hodgins.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. My question is on C2. Do we have a definition of a traffic evaluation? Is that different than a traffic assessment? Like, does everyone know what we mean by that? Oh, Mr. Molina.
Thank you. Yeah, we understand what those are. They're commonly accompany more detailed traffic reports. And so that is subject to our review and approval. And so we're comfortable with that language as proposed. Thank you.
And not to jinx you or anything, but would any future department director of public works also know what a traffic evaluation, what is the standards of that? Is it like common knowledge?
Yeah, it's a pretty typical report we get with traffic traffic studies and traffic assessments with projects.
Okay, so it's not a traffic assessment, but everyone knows what a traffic evaluation should include.
Yeah. It's basically an appendix to their original report to focus in on this particular condition with the driveway.
Okay, thank you. I'm good, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, Member Senensi?
Thank you, Chair. Just going back to Member Johnson's request about the street trees. So Member Johnson, you're okay with subject to reasonable substitutions in species?
Thank you, Councilman.
That language that they want to keep in there?
I was just going to add a little bit extra to that sentence at the very end. And all it's saying is if those substitutions of those species provide increased shade canopy or have been recommended by the Maui County Arborist. I mean, that's pretty, I think for me, like that would, I want them to work on those trees with the arborists. The arborists are going to give the best advice. They're the professionals. I thought that's pretty reasonable. And again, there are pots of money that could help them achieve that.
From street trees, because it says reasonable substitutions. You're substituting street trees. You're not like putting a bush in.
Right.
So it has
exactly right.
So you're saying like kind of substitute it with
shade trees. You know, you don't want to have a
or
tree
with
grow.
like the same size, the same. You know, if you're taking out the street trees.
Right. So I guess I'll read the sentence where it says, subject to reasonable substitutions in species, if those species provide increased shade canopy or have been recommended by the Maui County Arborists Committee. So sometimes I think they call them lollipop trees, where it just comes up and has very little shade, whereas some trees kind of grow over and make the tree tunnels over the road and the sidewalk. That's the difference, right? We don't want to have those kind of trees that just grow straight up. There's no shade provided, but that's why I wanted to kind of emphasize that it's going to be shade-producing trees that covers the area where people are traveling, walking, cooling down the area, inviting them, right? That's kind of what you want to have is, you can't just have a tree just to check to the box.
I'm looking at the word reasonable substitutions, almost like it should be comparable substitutions that have the same.
Sure.
Would you be open to that, comparable?
If I may, the reason for that language is when we get to the part about actually finding which tree species, sometimes the intended species is not available, or it's, it's too young, it's not the right size. So there's practical limitations that, when you actually are installing the tree, that we have to be flexible enough to accommodate, the intent of the landscaping plan. So the language here isn't intended to worm a way out of, the requirement, because we're showing, these nice sized trees along the frontage. We want to provide that frontage. There's physical limitations where we can't put it, in this as a street tree out along the sidewalk because of the overhead lines. So there's things like that going on. But we want the flexibility to make this a really good project. Maybe not perfect, but, we want to do the best we can.
So you're willing to work with the arborists?
Yes.
That's really what this language is saying, It says.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
I did want to add, Chair, in prior discussions when removing the 7 coconut trees that the Department of EV Resources were going to be informed when they do that. Just a side note. Thank you.
Yes, we also did reach out to EV Resources, and we have a meeting coming up.
I'll for that.
Yeah. I'm not looking for the perfect to quote you, but we want, to bury those power lines. We want to make, all the conversations we had about those, the importance of shade and the importance of walking and the walkability. That's how you invite them in, by having a good shaded sidewalk, a good shaded, area for people to actually use those. So I just think that language is fair and it's not overly burdensome. And again, if there's financial pots of grants that can help you achieve that.
Chair, can I ask Nahulu a question?
Sure.
So I get where we're going with this. I think reasonable is a reasonable word for comparable, because reasonably you wouldn't take a shade tree and trade it out for a bush. As somebody who has done LPA plans, it's not as easy as I think we think it is. It's actually quite detailed. But my question is one for Nahulu, but I'll save that for after. My first question is, I guess, to planning who's not here, who they approve the LPAP, which is, it's confusing because this is in chapter 12, but LPAP is in chapter 19, and the planning department approves it. Maybe Member Johnson, you'll know, does the planning department have an arborist that could work with the housing provider and the applicant during the approval of the LPAP to ensure your request is accommodated? Because my concern is that if we send them to the arborist committee, if they require any change, we're adding cost. That's my question for Nahulu.
Okay, the arborist that we have presently is in Department of Agriculture.
Okay.
So that's one route, but
Okay.
Are you saying that the committee would just take a little bit longer?
Yeah,
Okay.
and the setup for the committee would add cost for them to go to the committee, and, we can't add cost. So my question is, how can we get to what you want without going to the arborist committee? So can the planning department, who's going to review the LPAP, work in conjunction with ag and their arborist to ensure the reasonable changes, or to ensure the trees, if being modified, meet your request for the canopies?
Well, I hear you on that. We'd have to ask the departments.
Yeah,
but
they're not here for another 20 minutes.
The committee review can also happen after they submit the 201H. It doesn't want, we don't have to have it hold up. You know, we could do it after.
Can we add costs though, Nahulu? If we have to, if they're paying for their consultants to go to the arborist committee and the arborist committee adds time, because it's not like, be like, hey, arborist committee, what you doing tomorrow? See you then. Can we add? Like, I'm trying to figure out where we can massage a little and what we can and cannot do with the new state law.
Thanks for the question. It's honestly not clear. So the more we wade into things that add costs, the more likely it is that we run afoul of the new law. But because of the way it's worded, we can't really be sure where they're falling on that. It's kind of ambiguous.
You know, at some point, I'm gonna ask an attorney to one time just answer me without saying it varies. But that's okay, I get it, it varies. Okay.
Can I speak to
Yeah.
that?
Yes.
So we had Jordan Molina, Department of Public Works on, and there is an arborist in his department, I do believe, so maybe he can speak to that?
Well, my question is to who, when approving the LPAP, because I've done I've done several a while ago, but this is before we had Department of Ag, which then they moved. So the approval of the LPAP plan is when we have that ability to ensure what you want is met without hopefully adding cost. How do we do that? Who's gonna approve the substitutions during the LPAP process?
Director Molina, can you speak to that? Can your
Planning
arborist?
does the LPAP, but maybe, yeah,
Oh,
Director
okay.
Molina can,
I'm only suggesting him because he's on the call. Maybe
yep, for
he
sure,
has-
and we get somebody answering us, thank you.
Put stuff
I'll
on your
take a
plate,
stab at it. So I guess going back to why we're here right now, so this particular exemption applies to street trees. And so what this exemption is asking is basically they don't want to put them in the road, they want to put them along their frontage, which we think is fine. And so that becomes this overlap issue with the landscape planting plan. And I guess I can't necessarily speak to the extent that the landscape planting plan now will cover these on-site trees that are intended to satisfy the street tree requirement. But I guess I'm assuming that they're going to have to go through a landscape planting plan review regardless, and seems like a appropriate time to talk about what species are being used on the project. Thank you.
Did that sound like you're willing to take that up, Director Molina? I'm just clarifying that.
Didn't sound like that to me.
I guess we wouldn't be engaged in that approval process. And generally, we don't have a strong preference as long as it's consistent with the planting plan. And without knowing what specific species they are going to settle with, we wouldn't be able to comment, but we would be, or we can have that part of our review when the construction plans do come through to make comment on the species. But it's typically limited to just ensuring that the space where the tree is going is adequate to support that type of tree in terms of what the root growth is expected and, any structures that it might be in conflict with. Thank you.
Okay, well, scheduling wise, how about the committee review can happen after they submit the 201H, right? Isn't there a time for that where it doesn't slow up anything?
If I may suggest that we do have a landscape architect designing the landscaping. He is an arborist, and we understand that the trees that are in our plan meet the county code requirements as designed. So we're not asking for, a variance from the species. The main gist is we couldn't put them in the street, so they're on the site. And this language here is just the flexibility for the actual installation. So,
I have a question. Did your arborists have some sense of what kind of trees they would put over there? Like, did they say we'll put some plumerias or we'll put some whatever tree? What did they suggest?
right, so the intent of the street trees is canopy, so larger But because we don't have that much space between the property line and the building, we couldn't put a very big canopy tree. So we're trying to be respectful of the physical limitations, also the fire requirements here, integrating all those in a design that makes sense for this project.
So what trees meet that specifications?
I'd have to look at the landscaping plan. I believe it was Manele trees.
Oh, that's right, I saw those three. Yeah.
Well, I know you guys are following the code, but that's why I'm asking you to go above and beyond the code. That's the whole point of why I'm bringing this up. It is the year of our community, a year of the community forests, right? That's the whole year we're supposed to be advocating for community forests, and I'm here to advocate for it. I'm gonna speak back on what I said earlier, that as an investor, and that's the way I consider myself as a council member, we're investing a lot of millions of dollars from our affordable housing fund. We should kind of emphasize the importance of things that we want this project to have. And I'm emphasizing those types of trees. So that's just where I'm coming from. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. So you're gonna stick with that? Okay. Member Yukile Sugimura.
So I think the project heard you loud and clear, and I would be surprised if they came back and they put a monkey pod tree at the wrong place and I love hearing especially Director Molina.
Yes.
And he knows how to slice bread whenever he
Yes.
talks to us, because I think he sat in the OCS
Yes.
staff, and then now he's a director, so he really understands the words well, so glad to hear that.
Kudos
Thank
to you. Okay. So you're gonna stick with that, Mr. Johnson? Okay, put that in writing. We might have to bring it up again, and we're all gonna have to probably vote on that, but not now. Okay. Item D, Title 14, Maui County Code, Public Services. An exemption from Code Chapter 14.07, Water System Development Fees is granted to exempt the project from paying the water system development fees. An exemption from Code Chapter 14.12, Water Availability is granted to exempt the project from the county's water availability policy. An exemption from Code Chapter 14.35, wastewater assessment fees for facility expansion for the Wailuku Kahului wastewater treatment system is granted to exempt the project from wastewater assessment fees. An exemption from Code Chapter 14.76, impact fees for traffic and roadway improvements in Wailuku Kahului, Maui, Hawaii, is granted to exempt the project from traffic impact fees if traffic impact fees are established before project completion. An exemption from Code Title 14, Public Services, is granted to the extent necessary to allow for the issuance of building permits in accordance with Code Section 18.28.030, subdivisions with major improvements, if the requirements of Code Section 18.20.190, final approval prior to completion construction, have been met, so that buildings may be constructed concurrently with the construction and acceptance of subdivision improvements. Members, comments?
Member Paulton.
Member Paulton?
Thank you. I really would like D2 to spell out that it's exempt the project from the county's water availability policy because it is comprised of 100% residential workforce housing as defined in section 2.96.020 Maui County Code, and is evidenced by an executed, recorded, and valid residential workforce housing agreement between the developer and the county.
Is that your amendment?
Yes, that's my amendment.
Okay. Could you somehow transmit all of those words to us at some point so we can add it to Title 14D?
Sure. I mean, it's the same wordage that's on page 7, T1A. And it's just clarifying, we're not just deciding to exempt them from water availability, we're exempting them from water availability in alignment with Section 16-201-03, paren G, paren 1, County of Maui Administrative Rules. I just wanted that clarified.
And you want that in that section?
Yeah, D2, because we're exempting the project from the county's water availability process because Section 16-201-03, paren G, paren 1, County of Maui Administrative Rules exempts projects comprised of 100% residential workforce housing units as defined in Section 2.96.020 Maui County Code, evidenced by an executed, recorded, and valid residential workforce housing agreement between the developer and the county.
Okay. So you want that listed as D2, and then all the other numbers follow down. Okay?
Correct. Add on to D2.
Okay.
Chair, may I just clarify?
Yes.
The language, what you were reading, Member Paulton, is from what we were discussing earlier, page 7 of 11, where it just specifies why they're exempt, right? So this isn't adding anything, it's just clarifying why they are exempt. Okay.
Correct. T1A, clarifying why exempt.
Yep, and then the language can be found on page 7 of T1A. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Okay, anything else, members? Oh,
I'll move to whatever Member Paulton just said, language, copy paste T1A to D2 after policy, to go on to clarify why it's exempt.
okay. It's been moved. Well, sorry, the mover moved and the seconder seconded. I looked and you weren't there. So it's been moved by Councilmember Nohe U'uhatens, seconded by Councilmember Yukile Sugimura to amend item D, giving it a number 2, and to quote what's on page 7-T1A. Is that right, Member Paulson? Okay. And that's what it is, members. Anything else? Okay. So we're going to go to, oh, I'm sorry, that's right. All those in favor, raise your right hand, say aye. Okay. Oh, sorry. I see 9, 7. Oh, Tom's not here. Oh, that's 8. That's 8. 8. Tom's excused. Okay. See, we are on now item E, Title 16 Maui County Code, Buildings and Construction. An exemption from Code Chapter 16.04E Fire Code is granted to exempt the project from plan review fees, permit fees, and inspection fees required for fire code compliance. An exemption from Code Chapter 16.13 Commercial Signs is granted to exempt the project from filing fees. An exemption from Code Section 16.16C, C406.10, Electric Vehicle Infrastructure is granted to exempt the project from electric vehicle infrastructure requirements. An exemption from Code Chapter 16.18B, Electrical Code, is granted to exempt the project from permit and inspection fees required by the Electrical Code. An exemption from Code Chapter 16.20C, Plumbing Code, is granted to exempt the project from permit and inspection fees required by the Plumbing Code. Exemptions from Code Chapter 16.25, Building Code Administrative and Supplemental Provisions, and Code Chapter 16.26C, Building Code, are granted to exempt the project from plan review, permit, and inspection fees required by Building Code. Number 7, because the project is receiving county funds, Code Section 16.25.201, applicability and scope, exempts the project from improvements, including pavement widening, construction of sidewalks, curbs, gutters, swales, drainage improvements, driveways, curbs, ramps, striping, signage, relocation of utilities, and placement of utilities underground to Connie Street, except that the project will install curbs, gutters, and sidewalks from its Connie Street driveway to Vival Street, consistent with existing improvements. Okay, Member Johnson.
Hey, Chair, I have a question for Corporation Council in regards to the burying the power lines. Can we strike that exemption so that they are required to bury the power lines and us pay for it? I know that new state law is coming into play, so can you clarify that?
So potentially, but how we would determine, I'm not sure that we would be able to determine how much it would cost to do that. And so to try to do that in the condition and say that the county would pay for it might be an issue.
Okay.
Since.
How do we do this then? How can I, as a council member, say to the builder, this is something that we care about, and we want you guys to do it as best you can. We'll be willing to put our money where our mouth is. How can I do that when this state law keeps coming in and saying, no, can't? It's really jamming me up. Otherwise, I'm just sitting here listening to a presentation and voting aye or no.
It's kind of a hard situation to deal with. The state law doesn't give us too many options.
Right, and I'm asking what you think we can do within the narrowness of the law. Do you have any suggestions, any way, flowery language, anything? I'm looking for anything at this point.
There's a lot of unknown variables in trying to do something like that. And so,
okay, can we put in language that county funds will subsidize putting power lines underground? That's just saying that the county will put money in to bury power lines. Whether or not they take, I mean, God, it's so watered down. I'm just trying to find a path. So can we just put in language that county funds would subsidize putting power lines underground?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's
Mr.
fine. There's a
Cook.
lot of questions. I yield.
Mr. Cook?
Thank you, Chair. In regards to Member Johnson's comment, it would be difficult for us to write a blank check for something that could be multi-millions of dollars. And that would include, as far as the delays for Maui Electric to be able to do the required engineering to execute that, the time that, how it may dovetail together with the construction time on site or not, how it might impact it. It just has so many variables. It's admirable, and I agree that the county, us determining and being willing to cost share on these type of things, but this particular project, which is basically a thumbs up or a thumbs down because the state doesn't want the county to be significantly impacting the time or the cost. This project is, low income, moderate income, extremely low cost. I mean, we're going to be contributing hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in the tax write-off, which I'm supportive of. But I agree with your championing for underground wire power. I want to assist you in that, but I don't think that we can bring that into this particular project. That's just my comment.
Member Paulton and members, you can sit more.
Thank you, Chair. My issue is with E3 and E7. I mean, not issue, but question. I was wondering if someone could clarify what electric vehicle infrastructure specifically that we're exempting the project from for E3. And then for E7, I'm grateful that they will install curbs, gutters, and sidewalks from Connie Street driveway to Vivao Street, consistent with existing improvements. But I really believe that we need it from Vivao Street to the Kahului Transit Center, because, I mean, unless there is a sidewalk or a walking way from the Connie Street driveway to the Kahului Transit Center. So those are my questions, clarifications, requests for E3 and E7.
Thank you, go ahead.
Yeah,
Wester.
thank you. The EV infrastructure that we're referring to is the EV ready chargers and the EV capable, so that's the underground conduits to a great number of stalls. EV ready, we are putting in 18 EV ready stalls.
So you're not I thought that underground conduit was fairly cheap to put in. I mean, it's cheaper than ripping it up later and putting it in.
Our understanding is that the number of stalls required under the code or could be interpreted as required is quite substantial. And to avoid doubt when we're at the permit counter and having one person might understand the code to read one way where it is required, and someone else might read it a different way as it's not required, which is our understanding. Excuse me. So this language is really just to clarify that it doesn't apply to this housing project, which is how we understand it is currently. So this language is really just clarifying that we're not required to as an affordable housing project.
Okay, so you said you're gonna make EV ready 18 stalls. If it weren't an affordable housing project, how many EV ready would it require?
Let me check, hang on one second. But while I'm checking,
and you're just doing the underground.
right, the EV ready would be the underground conduit, but also to make sure that the electrical panel is sized correctly.
Because, shucks, we had a presentation where that wasn't that expensive to do the undergrounding and it was a lot cheaper to do it up front. I would be interested in a similar thing to Member Johnson where we pay for it because, I mean, I don't know, unless we're going away from EV cars, which given that the batteries can explode when exposed to salt water, I'm not opposed to, but I don't know.
While I'm looking for that information, you were also asking about the sidewalks. So so what we have in the project is to go, right now there's dirt along a portion of the Connie Street frontage. So we want to provide that connectivity so folks can walk along the sidewalk, our residents can walk along the sidewalk to get to Vivao. And at the corner of Vivao, there is already existing sidewalks so that they can walk from there today to the transit station. So that part, we would use the existing, but where there's dirt now, we would put in the curb gutter and sidewalks.
Okay, I'm looking at GO.7 diagram number 5. Is that not Bilbao Street where it's kind of like a grassy frontage? Because I guess if you let them walk from Connie Street to Bilbao Street, you're saying Bilbao Street to Kahului Transit Center already is a sidewalk?
Right, along Vivao Street, there's existing concrete sidewalks and curbs.
all the way to Connie from Vibao?
Yeah, it kind of stops at the corner of Kane.
Okay, so number 5 and 6, is that Vibao Street? Or that's Connie Street?
I'm not following what you're referring to as 5 and 6.
On G0.7 of your project site context, existing context. Five and 6 over here.
Right, so 6 is the existing driveway. That's roughly where we're putting the new residential project main entry. And it's dirt there, so we would put the concrete curb and gutter there.
Oh, so 5 and 6 is where you are putting the concrete curb and gutter.
Correct. I believe 5 is Kane Street as well, with the shopping center on the left and the project site on the right. And that also shows dirt sidewalks, so that's where we would put in the concrete curb and gutter and sidewalk.
Okay, great, thank you. Thanks for clarifying that. I like that part. I wouldn't mind to give you affordable housing funds to do the full amount of EV ready, but whatever, I guess.
Okay, anything or anyone else? Members?
I guess, I mean, I did want to ask Member Cook, because when we had the presentation, he said it's way cheaper to install the EV ready stuff before the parking area is in, right?
Chair.
Yes.
Correct. It is a lot cheaper to put in just the conduit. It would be the circuit, the panel box to supply the power would be the thing that would be the cost, increased costs. So simply putting in the conduits during the process would be the smaller portion of the cost. The increased cost for the charging, for the transformers and stuff would be more. So I don't know if they'd be willing or
Could we just
interested in doing
accept
the
them
conduits.
for the,
So
the transformers?
Sorry, again, our understanding is the current language of the code does not require us to put in the EV capable or the conduits for the great number of stalls because we would be exempt as affordable housing. But the reason why it's in here is because you have to, I read it one way and I have one interpretation, and staff or someone else reading it may have a different interpretation saying, well, you're not exempted from that. And so this is just to clarify once and for all that it's not. So when we go for permitting, we don't get hung up with trying to, argue how it's actually interpreted. So again, our understanding is it's not required, but we have it in here for clarification purposes.
Would you be willing to put in the conduit, since that's not a big expense, and then we could affordable housing fund you for the transformers and the charging stations?
I think at this point, the current design, because we have our drawings ready to be submitted for permitting at the building permit, we are not anticipating the capacity to provide EV charging for a great number of stalls. So in the sizing of our electrical requirements, we have for the 18 EV ready. But if you're asking to install the infrastructure for a full-on EV, that's something that we haven't contemplated.
Oh, have you contemplated how to decide who gets to charge? Is it like first come, first serve, or what if there's more than 18 folks that want to charge?
That's part of the operational details. I think, part of the consideration is in this world we live in now, there's a lot of changes happening. And so to put in added costs that we're not really sure would be required, or if the technology would change, it's something that, we're more focused on the housing component, realizing that there's less parking just as the project is designed, recognizing we want to support the adjacent transit center and encourage multimodal transportation, that the project includes a significant number, roughly 219 bicycle parking stalls to encourage people to get out there and exercise and be healthy. So there's different ways that we're approaching this. It's not just one amenity or another. It's as a whole. We feel very good about this project and the product that it includes.
Okay, shucks, I just thought it was the state's goal to electrify vehicles, and this is state land, and too bad we're not in alignment here.
Members, anything else on exemption E? Yes, Member Johnson?
Chair, was this in here for the bike lane exemption as well? Is that in here? I was looking for
It
it.
should be here.
Okay,
I thought I
so
was reading it.
let me, if I can clarify with the builder, you want to be exempt of building a bike lane on Kane to Kaumana Street, is that correct?
We are proposing to put in sidewalks, curbs, and gutters as a standard detail of Maui requires.
Is there a bike lane on Kane before your property? I think there is, right?
At the shopping center, as you enter the shopping center. And then after you pass the intersection on Ka'ahumanu, then the bike lane picks up over there.
Okay.
But no bike lane on Kane.
So I guess I'll just state that for the record that on March 9th, 2024, KHON News did a story that Hawaii is ranked number 2 in most dangerous state for pedestrians. So when we, I have concerns about exempting things and having a bike lane go, the speed limit on Kaumana Street is 45 miles per hour? Is right
Only
there?
after you pass the college.
Okay.
But it's slow at the college and at the shopping center.
Okay. We just don't want it to be, that's not a good statistic to be number 2 in the nation on most dangerous state for pedestrians. I want to do things to help drop that number and save people's, keep people, keep them safe. So I have concerns about exempting some things for our pedestrians. The bike lane, also going, so there is no bike lane on Kane before. So I just thought maybe you guys would be considering putting in a bike lane. What's your take on that? How, adding a bike lane? Is there room for it?
I think if your larger concern is for public safety, then it sounds like a more holistic policy that encompasses the entire street and maybe the surrounding neighborhood should be considered. I mean, because this project frontage is actually quite a small portion of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, just trying to find, ways to make it safer, especially if we're going to ask people to walk, and we don't have a good track record for our pedestrian safety. Thank you, Chair.
But at the intersection of Kane and Vivao, there is a pedestrian crossing. So that's helpful for the people from the Catholic Charities
Right.
side as well as the new project.
What Councilmember Paulton was talking about is in regards to the EVs and all of that infrastructure. I support that. Remember, members, we codified the CARP, the Climate Action Resiliency Plan. And that was all about talking about, electrifying our fleet and doing things to take climate change seriously. I mean, we did codify it, so that's why I think, we should look at ways to make people get off the gas engines. The idea that, you know, if we pass a CARP, you know, Climate Action and Resiliency Plan, and then we are passing projects that aren't doing the best they can to really get, you know, look at the climate, you know, change as a real thing and put it in your planning, that makes sense to me. There's a conference next week that we're going to on sustainable development that is all about that. So it's hard for me to be like, yeah, we support climate change action plans and we support resiliency, and then a project comes up and like, oh, it's too expensive to do that, and the cost comes in, and all of a sudden I feel like we're talking out of two sides of our mouth. Thank you, Chair.
You have so many priorities in front of you. You have housing, you have homelessness, you have climate change, and all you have is $1 in your pocket. And that's kind of like what it comes down to, right? So in the end, you and your dollar are going to decide how you're going to spend that dollar and what your priorities are. And that's all we can ever do, right?
If I can respond to that,
yeah.
Chair, you know, I appreciate your comments. The idea that we only have $1, and when we're a wealthy nation in a wealthy state, in a wealthy county with the lowest property tax rates in the nation, we shouldn't operate from a position of scarcity. That's my point. Thank you, Chair.
Oh, I get your point. I get your point, but we also have up-and-coming looming things that we don't know about, right? And in preparation for what we don't know coming in the future, you want to plan now to take care of some of those things. Thank you for your response, though. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So Chair, if I could add to that. So the new Act 294, which is a brand new thing. So I think we're even hesitant to spend that $1, right? I mean, that's really what's happening. I mean, we have contributed a lot already, but it's so frustrating. Anyway, just want to add.
You see, now we don't even have $1. Okay. So we have item F, G, and H, more items, and then we can hopefully by lunch make a decision on all of our modifications and exemptions. So F, Title 18 Maui County Code, subdivisions. An exemption from Code Section 18.16.320, Parks and Playgrounds, is granted to exempt the project from park dedication requirements and assessment fees. The project includes 14,696 square feet of on-site recreational facilities, which is 61,054 square feet less than the 75,750 square feet required by Code Section 18.16.320. Except as provided in paragraph E7, an exemption from Code Section 18.20.040, existing streets, is granted to exempt the project from the requirements of construction curbs, gutters, and sidewalks along frontages. Except as provided in paragraph E.7, an exemption from Code Section 18.20.070, sidewalks, is granted to exempt the project from the requirement of constructing sidewalks along frontages. Except as provided in paragraph E7, an exemption from Code Section 18.20.080, curbs and gutters, is granted to exempt the project from the requirement of constructing curbs and gutters along frontages. Okay, members, comments, questions? Yes, Mr. Sinensi.
Thank you, Chair. I just had a question of ADA. It still doesn't exempt the developers to include ADA access? Yeah.
ADA access.
Right, our understanding is we would comply with the requirements of ADA.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, members? Member Sugimura?
I just want to hear from Director Molina to be sure he's okay with this section. Was this the section that we had the discussion about?
Here's Director Molina.
Are you fine with F? Subdivisions.
Hi, Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, in effect, this section is moot, given the exemption under what I understand is E7 now.
Okay,
So it's harmless. Thank you.
okay. Thank you, thank you. Anyone else? Members? No? Okay. Are we good with 18 then?
Yes.
Okay. So let's go to G, Title 19, Maui County Code, zoning. An exemption from Code Chapter 19.18, B2 Community Business District is granted to permit the development of a 2.2 floor area ratio. Under Code Section 19.18.050, development standards, the maximum FAR is 2.0. The project site is 148,000 square feet, making the maximum allowable FAR without an exemption 296,482 square feet. The exemption allows a maximum FAR of 326,130 feet. 2, an exemption from Code Section 19.36B.020, designated number of off-street parking spaces is granted to allow 298 off-street parking spaces instead of the required 612 off-street parking spaces. 3, an exemption from Code Section 19.36B.060, size or dimensions of parking spaces is granted to allow 146 compact parking spaces that will be 16 feet by 7.5 feet, which is smaller than the standard size spaces of 18 feet by 8.5 feet required by Code Section 19.36B.060. The remaining 152 parking spaces will meet the standard size requirements of Code Section 19.36B.060. Okay, first question, what is FAR? Floor? Oh, okay.
Floor area ratio.
Floor area ratio, thank you. Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Member Hutchins.
I wonder, since we're now in Title 19, if, now that it's 11:20, if we have Director Blystone on and we can ask her the status of their SMA review.
Chair, apologies, staff has been trying to contact Director Blystone to see if she'll be able to attend the meeting. We haven't seen her join yet, but we're continuing to try and we're on the lookout for her for joining the meeting.
Thank you. I don't want to hold up, and I know we only have 40 minutes left before our lunch break. If this committee wouldn't mind sending her a letter asking her the status of the SMA review, I would appreciate it.
Is there anything else we need to send to her besides just that?
Is Ana Lillis available? I think she might be able to answer.
Is anybody available?
Chair, we're reaching out to see if we can have someone from planning join. Thank you.
Okay.
If not, can we also include in the letter if an arborist from planning department or the planning department is willing to work with the Department of Agriculture during the LPAP process to ensure consultation on whatever Member Johnson wants?
Consultation on the trees.
Yes, whatever language
The
you would hope
reasonable
to see.
substitutions.
Yeah, reasonable. So that we're not adding cost, but some of the things you would like is acknowledged, but not
Yeah.
holding up the process and allowing it to move forward and figuring out how we can get that done. Member Johnson can add in how he would like it to be worded, but since they approved the LPAP, I figured, since we sent them a letter anyway.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else, members, on G, Title 19? Member Paulton?
Apologies, Member Paulton, you're muted.
Thanks, James. My question, I think, is for Mr. Lau or Mr. Schnell on G3, about the parking spaces that will be 16 by 7.5 feet, which is, I guess, 2 by 1 foot smaller than the required for the 146 compact parking spaces and then 152 standard size parking spaces. Do you guys have a plan of how you're going to accept people and like, only accept 146 compact car users and 152 regular car size? Like, is that part of the application process? What size car you will have that you, and how will the compact spaces be? Is it like more cost? Because I thought parking was free. How do you decide to distribute that?
You're right, we will not charge residents additional for parking stalls. We also don't charge more for having a bigger stall or a smaller stall. Operationally, I understand residents are, when they have their parking stall selected, they are assigned to that stall. Right. So, and they're registered for that stall. They have to provide insurance and registration to make sure it's legal. So our property managers monitor very carefully who's on site, who has a car, and it's very carefully controlled. So we don't want people who are not authorized using those parking spaces. And it's also a way to check to see that, the number of people that are living there. But the details of how it's selected, whether it's first come, first serve or a lottery system, we have to work that out with the property management at that time to see what is the best solution given the demand, the interest, and things like that. So it's difficult to tell you what the procedure is exactly right now.
So it's not going to be anywhere on the application whether or not they have a compact or standard size car. So potentially you could get 180 people with not compact cars and then you'd have a problem.
There's going to have to be some coordination and screening to make sure that what people have aligns with the facilities, because obviously the facilities are what they are.
Static, yeah. Okay, main thing, you understand that, because people get kind of upset if you don't coordinate. I yield to somebody else.
Member Sinensi and then Member Johnson.
Mahalo, Chair. Just as a reminder, in previous discussions, that parking will not be charged on a monthly basis. Okay,
Correct.
Thank you.
Parking's free.
Parking is free. Thank you.
Member Johnson?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to follow up on Councilmember Uhaja's question in regards to Director Blystone and the SMA app. I spoke to her offline, and I think maybe she said on the floor, but I'm not sure. But either way, she said the SMA application would be done within the timeline. So that's why she kind of left that one meeting. She said it'll get done before this. So that's I'm just relaying the message what she said to me. So
Thank you. I absolutely appreciate that. I would like it in writing, but I thank you.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
Sorry, one more.
Okay, go ahead, Member Bolton.
Just wondering if the applicant has any problem putting it in writing that parking will be free. Just to, memorialize.
Yeah. It is stated in the 201H application that we won't charge, if that is sufficient.
Okay, it's as long as it's stated somewhere. Is that good enough for us, Corp Council, that it's in the application? Is that memorialized for all time, forever and ever? Or the length of the affordability of the project?
I think that since it's part of what they're warranting during this process, that it is valid for our purposes.
Okay, main thing you think so? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, anyone else, members? Member Johnson?
Chair, if it's appropriate, I could speak on maybe a suggestion for the trees issue. If
You can speak on the
Okay.
tree issue.
So what if we made the frontage trees shown on your landscape plan and make, landscape planting plan, and make the planning director obtain recommendations of the arborist committee prior to issuing the landscape planting plan approval under Maui County Code 19.36B as in Bravo? So basically, making the frontage trees, the ones on Queen Kaumana Street, be shown on their landscape planting plan, and then the planning director obtain recommendations from the arborist committee prior to issuing the landscape planting plan approval. That way, it's in the administration's hand, section. What do you guys think? It'd be.
You're asking them or us?
For the builders.
Okay.
Our preference is not to do that. I mean, it's administrative burden, right? When we go for the building permit process, you have the normal reviews, and this would add another layer of review and another round of approvals and another bunch of people who might have a different interpretation. I mean, when we're designing the project, we take into consideration the feedback that we would likely receive, and we incorporate that because we want to demonstrate that we are concerned that the design matters. It matters to the residents and the community and to us, because we're managing this project. We're not just turning it around and selling it. This is for rent that EAH will manage. Also, we want to be very mindful of the fire risk, and so we choose trees that address that. The spacing is really important. The durability, the maintenance, the long-term maintenance of the site, the watering, all that goes into these decisions. So it's not something taken lightly. We have an arborist on our team that designs the landscaping. So these are by the time you've seen it, it's carefully thought out decisions that are into these plans. And so since there is already a process that zoning has, or planning department has, to get approval for the landscaping, we would like to respect that process and move forward with the requirements as they are.
Thank you.
Yes, Member Uwatins?
Thank you. I don't disagree, and the reason why I was asking for the status of the SMA is that, from what I understand, they have just been assigned a plans reviewer, and it went unanswered for a long time. So my hesitation is to assign planning department another layer, as they were saying, but specifically as it's related to the arborist committee, because then it's time, it's getting agendized, it's getting all of these things, which is why I was suggesting maybe they could work with the agricultural department, and then it kind of expedites this concern, because that's the timing is what's
Yeah.
going to add.
I like that suggestion.
I mean, to be fair, I wonder now how they process the LPAP if there is no arborist in the planning department. So I wonder how that's getting done. I wonder what they're doing now. I wish she was here to answer our questions. But we can either send out a letter and figure out before first reading and make changes if necessary. But we have to, I guess, now be mindful about adding time, because time is unfortunately money. And money is where we get in trouble with this new state law. But,
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes.
Staff has been informed that Director Blystone will be on the call at about 11:35.
11:35, we're watching that clock, so let her know that. Because nobody wants to stand between lunch, and she's in a bad space. Okay, so,
Well, thank you for that suggestion, Councilmember Uwahajins, and I appreciate that.
yeah,
I'd be
I like
willing
that
to
idea
support
too. Yeah, yeah. And maybe they can come up, Member Johnson, with, there's those 3 trees that they recommended. I don't know what the trees look like. I don't know how much shade they give. But maybe if you came up with other trees that would have more shade, because that's what you're looking at, right?
Yeah,
So-
exactly. And
So you gotta look at what the tree look like now, and then look at what the other trees are that have more coverage, and then maybe make those, at least to start the discussion flowing, and you know what direction.
we have an arborist. I figure, you know, we have the experts. Let's
Yeah.
have them weigh in on this.
Yeah.
That's really where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
I saw Councilmember Rollins Fernandez hands up, and she
Okay.
hasn't spoken much. Maybe she
Okay.
could add to this.
Member Rollins Fernandez.
Mahalo, Chair, Mahalo Member Johnson for seeing my hand. So, sorry, I missed what Member Hajan's idea was, but one of the things, I don't know if any of the directors would be able to speak to this, but I think what I hear the goal is, and I support the goal of shading the sidewalk, especially since the purpose is to, you know, have a more walkable town, and we're like, you know, discouraging using cars, is like, instead of trees, because I know like some of the concern is, you know, like the maintenance of the trees, the roots, you know, destroying the foundation of the sidewalks, or, you know, what, like surrounding infrastructure. So what if we were to, you know, like construct trellises over the sidewalk, with like, you know, foliage, like vines or something. And then that way the root system wouldn't damage, you know, like the sidewalks or surrounding area. It would provide shade. It would have that hangover over the sidewalk, and it would also provide like oxygen, and it would cool down the area, because it would still be trees, and it wouldn't just be like hard industrial looking infrastructure, but it would like have that combination to achieve both greenery, oxygen, nature, but also, you know, not, you know, cause damage. It's an idea.
Director Blystone's on the call on the phone, and she should be showing up in a moment. And so we're going to go ahead and pivot to Member Hodgins, since you have, there she is.
Aloha, Director Blystone. We were all so excited you're here.
Mahalo.
Yeah. Can you please tell me the status of the SMA review? I assume, obviously, it's an SMA 1, and we're just trying to figure out the timing of it all, so that it coincides with the start date that we have. We did amend it, but we're recommending that they follow the original. But I just wanted to follow up on the SMA review and your folks' time for it to be completed.
Mahalo nui for your question, and akalamai for being so late. We had a departmental meeting this morning, and it went a little long. We were talking story with the Department of OEB Resources, so mahalo for your patience as I got here. So as of this week, they were having some issues resubmitting their application. They may have already said this to you. So we had to do it the old school way. We now have that information as of yesterday, and they're going to work, the staff is working on it, on updating their application by the end of this week, and they'll deem it complete next week, which puts us on on track to doing agency transmittals and scheduling for UDRB, and hoping for October for all of that to happen, so quite quickly.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your answers. And then if I could follow up, and Member Johnson can jump in, because this is more his concern. Currently, how do you guys review the LPAP process? What do you folks look for in reasonable substitution of trees? Does an arborist help you folks review it? And then Member Johnson can maybe pick up wherever you leave off.
Mahalo for your question. So we have not reviewed, so they need to submit an LPAP, and our plans examiners will review it at the time of building permit review. This is my rough understanding of how we do this process. So that hasn't happened yet. So when that happens, though, we are looking for that thing, for consistency with the planting plan and all of that. And so at that time, we would make suggestions and recommendations for how to deal with the issues. If I may, to Councilmember Rollins Fernandez was mentioning an option in which you could do trellising. That would be new and very exciting. So I just want to throw that in as planning director.
That's what I want at my house. So Member Rollins Fernandez, if you could talk to my husband, that'd be great too. I do know that when they do the LPAP, it's submitted near around the same time as the building permit, so I know we're not there yet. But when you folks review it, what is the justification to allow for a substitute? If for whatever reason for the trees, in this case, we're discussing the street trees are now being included on property, which would probably be included in the LPAP review, which I know we're not there yet, but we would like to be. So Member Johnson was just wondering how reasonable the changes can be, and besides Member Rollins Fernandez's request, like what can we do to ensure an arborist is assisting in the review process on our end? They have an arborist, but you know, just arborist to arborist having their own conversation. Thank you.
Mahalo for that question. So we do not have an arborist on staff. I know you all tried to give us one a couple years ago, and at the time staff felt that we didn't have enough work for it. So for an arborist position, so we did transition that over to Department of Ag, and they were happy to have it. So as far as an arborist reviewing these things, we do not have that in place at this time. So we are, you know, since this isn't the part of our job that I do most frequently, I will say that the place that we've interacted most with species is in the SMA process. And we do talk about that. Our planning commission especially is very interested in ensuring that appropriate species are used in these projects. And so I think you can anticipate they're going to be talking about that as part of their special management major permit process. They will certainly have things to say, as they would say, we have lots of plant people on that commission, and they have a lot of strong opinions, and they certainly express those. So that you'll certainly see something coming out of that. If you want more details on our finer grain process, let me consult with one of our colleagues who does that more frequently and see if there's a standard for that substitute.
Member Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Director, for joining us. And if I could just follow up, we're trying to get the Arborist Committee to come and speak to, have their opinions shared and on what trees should be put there. The concern is we can't, slow down the process because time is money. So could there be a time where you fit it in, prior to issuing the landscape plan approval? The planning department can go to the Arborist Committee and say, here's, what say you? Because they're the experts. Like you said, we tried to put in arborist in your department, but Department of Ag has one. So either way, I'm trying to find someone who knows trees, right? And is a specialist that can help guide this. So would you consider that you guys could meet with the Arborist Committee before you do the landscape planting plan approval under MCC 19.36B?
This is one of the disadvantages, mahalo for your question, disadvantages of coming in late, because I would have loved to have been looking things up as we were talking. But we're open to that. We're open to any feedback. So, I mean, I think it's just a matter of making sure the process is not overly burdensome. But I agree and understand the desire and wanting to have arborists speaking to arborists, tree people talking to tree people about the appropriate use. And I do have a question into my colleague to do a finer discussion of how that substitution works if we have a formulaic way of doing that substitution. So mahalo for your patience while I gather all of my thoughts.
I heard you're open to it, and that's really what I was curious, because we don't want to slow down the project. I want to respect the builder's timeline. Time is money. I've been hearing that a lot today. So the idea that you'd be willing to, show work with the Arborist Committee before you move forward, and you think it's not going to slow down the process at all, then that's really what I wanted to come up and see what you had to say on that. Thank you, Director Blystone. Thank you, Chair. No further questions. And I see Councilmember Rollins Fernandez hands up.
Councilmember Rollins Fernandez.
Mahalo, Chair, and mahalo, Director Blightstone. for supporting the idea of trellises. And if the developer does move forward with the idea of trellises, may I suggest vines of Pakalana? Mahalo. I know. Oh, you love it, right? Uh-huh.
People would be picking them as they pass by.
Absolutely, which they should. And then just enjoy the fragrance. Ah,
You
yes.
enjoy the
let's
fragrance,
do that.
just don't pick them. Okay, members, we're now on item H. That's your last exemption for the day, and then we can approve or not approve some of the exemptions and the modifications that we went through. But Chapter 20.08 Maui County Code, Soil Erosion and Sedimentation Control. 1, an exemption from Code Section 20.08.090, grubbing and grading permit fees is granted to exempt the project from grubbing, grading, and excavation permit fees and inspection fees. Members, comments? Anything? Yeah, just the fees. Is your hand up, Member Rollins Fernandez? Yes.
Yeah, mahalo, Chair. Sorry, I don't remember how much all of that was going to be, the exemptions, and if Public Works, I think that's Public Works, would need to be made whole because of it, or if it's like such an insignificant amount, then they don't need it.
$200 scrubbing permit.
I hope they can afford that. Director Molina?
Grading is $6,390.
Yeah, these are general fund revenues. So as long as you guys don't cut me $200 in the next budget cycle, we should be okay. But if Chair, if you allow me, I do want to just point out one thing for the committee's awareness on some of these, or most of these fees. The council and the county code already grant exemptions to these fees, and in particular for the building ones, it's in the budget ordinance rates and fees where we waive fees for projects funded by the county. And so I just wanted to make you guys aware that, you know, by policy, we've already granted this project waiver of fees by the fact that they got money from the county. So, you know, it's not so much the time to debate whether they should get a fee exemption at this stage because they've already effectively got it. So I just wanted to point that out for you folks. Thank you.
Mahalo for pointing that out for us, Director Molina. And it's it sounds like it's $6,200. So the council shouldn't reduce your budget by $6,200. Mahalo, Director. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, members, so if we're okay with all of this, then I think we have to go back to the motion and the amendments to the motion, right?
So,
And this, go ahead.
So Chair, so during this process, the committee has been taking up its amendments to your proposed substitution.
Yeah.
So at this time, if there's no other amendments to your proposed substitution, the body could consider voting on your substitution as amended, and then the body would be back to the main motion as amended.
Oh, is that the only things we have to do? Just the amendments to the CD1?
So Chair, the body's already voted on several amendments to the
Yes.
CD1. So voting on the CD1 as amended is before the body now,
Okay.
unless there's other amendments. Then the body would be before the main motion as amended. And if the body does choose to recommend adoption of the resolution as amended, the body would then probably consider filing the other two resolutions.
Yes, yeah, okay. Okay, thank you, members. So, because we're recommending adoption, are we recommending adoption? Of resolution 25-161 CD1, right? So let's take the vote on that and and amendments, right?
Oh, Chair.
Wait.
So before the body right now would be a vote on the substitution as amended.
Oh, the substitution, that's right. Okay, this is a substitution of the CD1.
Can we also include the filing of resolution 161 and 162?
Can, right? Or you need two different motions to do that?
No, I suppose if the body wanted to loop that in as part of the main motion as amended, it could, but I guess typically we just separate out the two just to
Okay.
confirm that they moved forward one and then just file
Okay.
the other two afterwards.
Okay, we'll wait then.
Okay, so it was moved by, no, was that you?
So
Noreen?
moved.
Second.
And second by Mr. Cook.
Chair, there's already a motion to substitute pending, so you don't need to take another motion, you just need to vote on the motion.
Oh, okay, the motion to substitute, right? Okay, so there was already a motion we did earlier this morning, so we're just gonna vote on the substitution now. All those in favor of the substitution, please raise your right hand, say aye. I'm gonna count.
Aye.
Oh, okay, that's okay. On my side, it's right. I see 9-0. Thank you, members. And now for the main motion, right? So, members, for the main motion as amended, all those in favor?
Discussion.
Yes, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. And did I see your hand up, Mr. Johnson? And I heard Member Paulton. No? Okay. Member
Who
Paulton?
did you want to go first?
You?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Member Johnson was actually voting. That's what he was doing.
Oh. Okay, for my discussion, I would like to state how fantastic it is to see the county and state work together when there's such a great need for affordable housing. I only wish they could do the same for West Maui. December 16th, 2022 at the CRC, this was proposed as a Kahului Civic Center mixed-use project with affordable housing. December 2nd, 2024, State of Hawaii HHFDC document, determination of no additional environmental review to satisfy Chapter 343 Hawaii Revised Statutes for the Kahului Civic Center mixed-use complex project. Even July 2025 here, from HHFDC, it's still being called Kahului Civic Center Mixed Use Project. But they're being allowed to take advantage of the water availability exemption, even when initially the water department said there wasn't enough water. Then they went back and did some special math and now there's water, you know? I just wish that we could be as prudent, expeditious to Pulelehua, because we lost over 2,000 something structures, 4,000 units of housing. And the only permanent housing that we've built so far is the 60% and below low income housing. Pulelehua was gonna be 80%. And the first phase, 240 units, is 100% affordable. 100% affordable, but we cannot figure it out to give them the same kind of deals, the same kind of consideration here. Section 16-201-03, paren G, paren 1, County of Maui Administrative Rules exempts projects comprised of 100% residential workforce housing units, when this is actually a mixed-use plan. And when that didn't work out for water availability, they just split it up. Why can't Pulelehua just split off the 240, 100% affordable section and get the water same like these guys? Kahului has plenty housing. West Maui has 0. And so, you know, people talk about politics. We just passed a amendment to conditions that went from 700 affordable to 450 affordable to 288 affordable. But we can't put together 240 workforce, affordable housing for West Maui that'll be permanent. This disgusts me. That's all I have to say. You know, we want to talk like we're doing something, the state and the county getting cozy, putting together housing, but Pulelehua sits on the shelf and dies 2 years after the fire. I hope we're so proud of ourselves for doing this, because I'm not proud of this. This is disgusting to me, that we would push this through and let Pulelehua sit on the shelf where it's desperately needed. You know, you're saying these guys already use water for the adult daycare center or adult education center. Pulelehua is using water for the school. That's not a permanent thing. You know, we cannot move that water over. Seaworm gave the county full authority to use its own water. And we're looking for water for other people. There's not the same kind of housing shortage in Kahului as there is in West Maui, but sure, let's give them all the affordable housing and leave the west side out to dry. That's my feelings, and it's disgusting what is being done to the west side.
Any other discussion, members? Member Sinensi, then Member Rollins Fernandez? Oh, Member Rollins Fernandez and then Member Sinensi.
Mahalo, Chair. I agree with Member Paulton's comments, both, supportive of this project that's for very low and low moderate income AMIs. And would also like to see the type of flexibility that our county could provide for the Pulelehua project and any projects that's needed on the west side. I'd also like to understand when and why this project was separated into two projects. And I don't know who would have the answer for that. I don't know if it would be Director Blightstone, because when it went to the CRC, it was one project. And then when it got to us, the developer has consistently said to me and us that these are separate projects, but they weren't always separate projects. They were once one project. So does someone have a response for that question?
It's either you, Costa, or Mr. Shell.
I aim to please.
Oops, sorry.
Thanks, Siri. Yes. At least someone's aiming to please.
So, is nobody's going to answer the question?
Doesn't sound like anybody has that. Maybe you can send that in writing to HHFDC, maybe later.
Aren't they right here? The representatives? They don't know the answer to this question? This is their project.
I don't know. Nobody seems to know.
Why would you not know the answer to this? Unless you don't want to answer, which is not cool. And if there is anything that I misunderstood, please correct me. I welcome any correction. This is the information that we received, and I think the public, should get a response to this question. I'm asking on behalf of the public.
Member Rollins Fernandez, let me see if somebody online at HHFDC can answer. Mr. Chu, are you there? Or Mr. Fuji?
Yes, I'm here,
Okay.
Chair.
So the question is, why was the development split into two? That makes this separate.
Well, again, the project was really a master plan that contained three components: the residential, the civic center, and the transit hub. It was split because of the timing. The residential, we wanted to get it done as soon as possible. DAGs, they have to go through their funding cycle to get monies for their project. So it was separate. So it just functionally it would not be able to match up at the same time. That's why it has been split in that manner.
Okay, mahalo, Mr. Chu, for responding to the question. So why, when it went to the CRC, it was one project, or it was submitted together?
Because it was submitted as a master plan project to include all the components at one time. Just as like the SMA, it's going in as one master plan project with all the components, but I guess you can look at it as phasing. The DAG's component would be the next phase.
Okay, I really appreciate that response, because that's not how it was represented throughout the meeting, as phases, or even as one project initially, as a master plan. And it was, the public that provided information to inform us of this, because we were told consistently in this meeting today that these are all separate, but they're not. So mahalo for clarifying that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Mahalo, Chair.
And yes, Mrs. Sinensi.
Hello, Chair. I just wanted to add that I'm glad that parking is free, and to some of our previous discussions, and also that this project is addressing the lower AMI for our residents. But to keep those rates low, we did want to make sure, unlike other projects, that additional fees are being put on top of our residents, including whether it be Wi-Fi or some of the additional costs. So I just wanted to add that in my final discussion, Chair. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other discussion? Member Paulton?
Thank you, Chair. Second and final. We'd like our residential 240 affordable housing in West Maui built as soon as possible as well. We're okay with phasing as well. So I just would like, this precedent that we're setting here with this project to carry forward where it's most needed. That's all I gotta say. We're setting a precedent here today that we're calling this 100% affordable workforce housing. And we're waiving the water availability requirement. Let's continue to do that for West Maui as well. That's all I got to say, because we're setting a precedent. This body is gonna agree to it. We need to continue to agree to it where it's most needed. Setting a precedent. And I'd also like to go on record to say that Department of OAB Resources will be contacted about the 7 coconut trees prior to them being cut down, and that they will be allowed to remove it.
Any other discussion, members? Seeing none, so I'm going to call for the vote on the main motion. All those in favor, raise your right hand, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, I heard that aye in the distance. I see 9 ayes, 0 noes. Thank you, members. So I think now we have to entertain a motion to file resolutions 25-160 and 25-162.
So moved.
It's been moved by members Sugimura and seconded by member Cook to be able to file resolutions 25160 and 25162. Discussion, members? Any? None? Okay. All those in favor of filing the resolutions, raise your hands, say aye.
Aye.
I heard that aye. Thank you. Again, James, I saw only 8. I didn't see Member Paulton. Is she?
Our video is off.
Oh, her video's off. Okay. 8-0? Okay. 8-1. Okay. So the motion passes with 8 and Member Paulton excused. Okay, so I don't think there's anything else on today's agenda. Thank you, members, for completing this today. Thank you to our resources for being here. Thank you, Mr. Nunakawa, and thank you for our staff and great staff. Thank you so much. The HLU committee, recess committee meeting is now adjourned at 12:03 p.m.